At dawn, the horizon blends seamlessly with the sea, a pale blue haze that stretches as far as the eye can see. The air is heavy with the scent of salt and wet wood, and the old fishing boat creaks as it slowly moves away from the safety of the shore. On board, a group of indigenous men and women ready themselves for the days ahead. Their faces are marked by the sun and by stories passed down through generations. In their hands, they carry not just tools, nets woven from fibers gathered in the forest, wooden spears carved by calloused fingers, hooks made from bone and stone, but also the wisdom of their ancestors who learned to read the signs of wind, water, and sky. The first hours pass in quiet determination. The boat glides smoothly, propelled by the aging motor and the gentle sway of the tide. The group works in harmony, each person knowing their role. Some cast the nets in practiced arcs, letting them sink beneath the surface to where they hope fish gather in secret shoals. Others scan the water, eyes sharp for the flicker of fins or the telltale shadow of larger prey. There is laughter, soft and low, and the sharing of dried fruit and a little water from battered gourds. Hopes are high, spirits steady, but the sea, vast and ancient, has never promised mercy. The day grows older, and the sun climbs mercilessly, burning into exposed skin. Clouds gather and scatter, offering only brief respite from the heat. The group's first catch is meager, just a handful of fish, glittering in the net like coins, barely enough to feed a few. Disappointment is kept at bay, replaced with resolve. They mend the net, where it has begun to fray, fingers nimble, stories whispered between stitches. Suddenly, the steady chug of the engine falters. A coughing, metallic groan fills the air, and then silence. The boat drifts, carried only by the whims of the current. The group gathers around the engine, peering into its rusted heart. They have fixed it before, using salvage parts and ingenuity, but this time, the problem runs deeper. Without power, their journey becomes uncertain. The elders remind everyone not to panic. The sea is a living being, and to survive, one must learn to adapt. They turn to their paddles, muscles straining, as they guide the boat toward deeper waters. It is then that disaster strikes again. As they toss the repaired net into the sea, a sudden resistance jerks it from their hands. The net snags on an unseen reef, the ropes tightening to the point of snapping. In an instant, the precious net, woven over weeks of patient labor, tears apart, strands trailing uselessly in the waves. The group falls silent, grief and frustration flickering in their eyes. Water becomes precious. The barrels they brought are half empty, and the relentless sun dries their mouths and cracks their lips. Each person takes only a sip at a time, careful to ration what little remains. Hunger gnaws at their bellies, but the memory of their ancestors who survived on even less keeps them moving. They bait their hooks with scraps of fish and lower them into the depths, waiting. Hours pass. The ocean offers only silence. As evening falls, the sky turns a fiery orange and the air cools. One of the younger members, a boy barely into manhood, begins to shiver and sweat. His cheeks are hollow and his eyes unfocused. The elders recognize the signs: dehydration, worsened by the sun and the lack of fresh water. They wrap him in blankets, shade him from the fading light, and whisper prayers to the spirits of water and sky. They know he must drink, But every drop they give him is a sacrifice, a risk weighted against the needs of the group. Night brings little comfort. The boat rocks gently and the stars emerge cold and indifferent above. The group huddles together for warmth, listening to the distant cry of seabirds and the endless, sighing breath of the ocean. The hunger deepens, pressing into their thoughts, making sleep a fitful, haunted thing. In the darkness, fears surface. Of the engine that will not start, of the net lost to the sea, of the young ones' fevered breaths. Yet there is also a strange peace, a sense of unity forged by hardship. They share stories of their people, of great journeys, of ancestors who crossed rivers and mountains, who survived drought and storm. These stories are their anchor, their reminder that they too can endure. With the pale light of dawn, hope flickers anew. One of the elders rises early, his silhouette outlined against the softening sky. He fashions a new line from spare rope, knots a makeshift hook from bone, and wades waist-deep into the sea. He murmurs a prayer for guidance, for the favor of the ocean. After long, tense minutes, the line jerks. He pulls, slow and steady, until a small fish breaks the surface, wriggling in his hands. It is not much, but it is enough to rouse the others, to remind them that life persists, even in adversity. They gather driftwood and use a battered tin to start a small fire, careful not to waste a single ember. The fish is cleaned, divided, and cooked, its scent mingling with the brine and smoke. Each person takes a modest bite, savoring the taste, grateful for the nourishment. The sick boy is given the largest share, and for the first time in hours, color returns to his cheeks. The day stretches on, marked by small victories and ongoing challenges. They repair what they can, fashioning new tools from what the boat provides and what the sea offers. The sun is still harsh, the water still scarce, but the group learns to read the currents, to spot the signs of approaching rain, to listen for the subtle changes in the wind. They are reminded that survival is not just about strength, but about adaptation, about the ability to bend without breaking. By nightfall, their spirits are battered but unbroken. The sea remains unpredictable, a force both cruel and generous. Yet within the struggle, the group rediscovers the resilience buried deep within their collective memory. They are more than survivors. They are caretakers of knowledge, keepers of tradition, bound not only by blood, but by the relentless will to endure. And as the stars shine down once more, they find comfort in knowing that whatever the sea may bring, they will face it together, guided by the wisdom of those who came before. The last days unfold as a delicate balance between silence, ritual, and resilience. The group moves quietly, their actions measured and deliberate, as if the very air around them requires conserving. Each morning brings a new rhythm, a subtle choreography of survival and hope. With the ship battered by the relentless sea, every resource is precious, every gesture purposeful. They gather on the slanted deck, weathered faces turned toward the horizon, and begin the slow work of crafting floating traps. Hands calloused by salt and sun knot fragments of rope, tie splintered lengths of driftwood, and affix bright feathers salvaged from the remnants of their supplies. These makeshift lures, vibrant against the vast blue, bob on the waves as offerings, humble requests to the sea for sustenance. Patience becomes their closest companion. For hours they wait, watching the traps sway in the gentle current. The silence is profound, broken only by the distant cry of a gull or the soft lapping of water against the hull. Eventually, hope stirs as the first traps yield their bounty. Small fish at first, and then, astonishingly, larger ones, drawn to the glimmer of feathers and the promise of an easy meal. Each catch feels miraculous, a reminder that life persists, even in the harshest circumstances. When a particularly large fish is hauled aboard, the group gathers in a loose circle. An elder, his hair silvered by age and salt, steps forward. He moves with a quiet authority, reverence in his every motion. In his hands, he holds a shell, worn smooth by time. With a voice both gentle and commanding, he leads a ritual of gratitude, words rising into the wind and mingling with the spray. For a moment, the group bows their heads, honoring the sea that both tests and sustains them. The meal that follows is not just nourishment, it is communion. They divide the fish with care, each portion measured so that none is left wanting. As they eat, their voices are hushed, each bite taken with gratitude. The act of sharing transforms the food into something sacred, a bond forged in adversity. Around them, the battered vessel creaks, but within its fragile shelter, they find a fleeting sense of peace. Some among them begin to heal, their wounds closing slowly under the diligent care of their companions. The salt air stings, but it also cleanses. Others, though, remain marked by the ordeal, by the memories that linger in the quiet moments before sleep. Scars trace their skin and spirits, reminders of the trials they have faced. Yet, with each passing day, the lines between suffering and strength blur, until what remains is a quiet acceptance, a resilience that endures. The ship itself bears the scars of their journey. Boards splintered, sails tattered, rigging frayed beyond recognition. The vessel is a testament to endurance. There is little left that is unbroken, but the group adapts, learning to make do with the barest essentials. They patch holes with whatever they can find, lash beams together, and improvise shelters from the wind and spray. Where once they may have lamented their losses, now they move forward with quiet determination. The sea has stripped away their excess, leaving only what is necessary. And in that, they discover unexpected freedom. As the days blend into one another, the ocean remains a constant presence, unforgiving, yet strangely comforting. In its vastness, they find perspective. The fury of storms, the gentle lull of calm waters, the infinite horizon, each offers a lesson in humility. The group learns to read the language of the waves, to anticipate the moods of wind and tide. In the process, they come to respect the sea not just as an adversary, but as a teacher. Its lessons are hard but fair, its gifts hard-won. Night falls quietly, stars scattered across the sky like shards of hope. The group gathers once more, this time not for ritual or sustenance, but for solace. They share stories, fragments of lives left behind, memories of laughter and loss. In the telling, they remember who they were before the sea remade them. They speak of dreams, of families, of places that now seem impossibly distant. The act of remembering becomes another kind of survival, a way to hold on to their humanity in the face of relentless isolation. Time loses its meaning. Days and nights blur at the edges, marked only by the changing patterns of light and shadow. Yet, within this relentless cycle, something shifts. The group, once strangers, are now bound by experience. Shared hardship becomes a thread that weaves them together, an unspoken promise that none will be left behind. In the silence, they find understanding. In the rituals, belonging. The sea, too, seems to soften. The storms grow less frequent, the days warmer, the nights less cold. Whether this is mercy or simply a change in season, none can say. But with each sunrise, hope grows. A fragile thing, but persistent. The wounds that once threatened to undo them now serve as reminders of how far they have come. The hunger that gnawed at their bellies is replaced by the slow, steady return of strength. The fear that haunted their dream fades, replaced by a quiet resolve. As the sun climbs higher, casting golden light across the water, the group stands together on the deck. The ship, though battered, holds. They have learned to live with less, to find beauty in simplicity, to trust in each other. The ocean stretches endlessly in all directions, a vast and indifferent witness to their journey. And yet, within this solitude, they have discovered something essential, a sense of purpose, a reminder of who they are beneath the layers of struggle and survival. In the end, it is not just survival that defines them, but remembrance, the rituals, the sharing of food, the care for one another. These are acts of memory, of reclaiming identity in the face of adversity. Standing at the edge of the world, they understand at last. They did not come only to survive. They came to remember, to honor the ties that bind them to each other and to the world they left behind. As the camera of the mind pulls back, the ship appears small against the immensity of the sea. The group, though tiny and fragile, stands resilient, and a voice rises, soft but certain, echoing across the waves. We did not come only to survive. We came to remember who we are. A fierce storm descends upon the small vessel, its fury unleashed in the form of howling winds and waves that rise like dark, living walls. The boat is tossed mercilessly, creaking and groaning as each swell threatens to overturn it. Rain lashes down, pelting the already battered deck, while salt water crashes over the sides, sweeping away precious supplies and scattering the remnants of their improvised shelter. The protective covering, hastily assembled from tarps and rope, shreds under the relentless assault, leaving the group exposed to the raw elements. The sea claims what it can, snatching at equipment, food, and hope with icy fingers. Yet, in the heart of chaos, the group refuses to surrender. Clinging to the battered railings and each other, they draw strength from unity. Voices rise above the roar, not in panic, but in purpose. They sing, weaving old melodies passed down through generations, their voices trembling but unbroken. The songs are a lifeline, a thread that binds them to memories of calmer days and to the ancestors who once faced storms of their own. Prayers follow, whispered and chanted, offered to the spirits believed to dwell within the water. Each prayer is a plea for mercy and survival, a humble request for the storm to pass and for safe passage to dawn. Food is scarce, every morsel a treasure. Their supplies, already meager, dwindle further as the sea claims its share. In the early hours, while the sky remains bruised with the threat of more rain, one among them bravely casts a net into the dark waters. Hours pass with nothing but the rhythm of the waves as company. Then, at last, the net is drawn back, heavy with the promise of sustenance. Within its tangled mesh lies a single silvery fish, small, but enough. It is cleaned and divided with the utmost care, each person receiving a precious portion. There is no feast, only the solemn gratitude that comes with sharing in hardship. To prepare this modest meal, they gather around an old metal pot, dented and blackened by time. Wood, salvaged and kept dry with difficulty, is coaxed into a fragile flame, protected from the wind by bodies hunched close and the careful shielding of hands. The fire sputters and nearly dies more than once, threatened by gusts that whip through the open boat, but the stubborn determination keeps it alive. The fish is cooked quickly, its aroma mingling with the briny scent of the sea. Each bite is savored, not for its flavor, but for the sustenance it provides and the hope it represents. Fresh water remains their greatest concern. The ocean surrounds them, vast and undrinkable. Thirst gnaws at their resolve, lips cracked, every drop a memory of rivers and rain. Among the group, one resourceful soul begins to fashion a makeshift distiller. Using salvaged metal, glass bottles, and lengths of tubing, they attempt to capture the steam from boiling seawater, condensing it into something safe to drink. The process is slow, laborious, and yields only a few precious sips. The others watch, hope flickering in their eyes as droplets form and trickle into a waiting cup. It is not enough, but it is something. A testament to ingenuity and the will to survive. As the storm finally relents, the sky shifts from slate gray to the deepening shades of night. The wind calms, but the cold settles in, seeping into soaked clothing and tired bones. Exhaustion wraps itself around the group, heavy and inescapable, yet sleep comes only in fits and starts. The deck is damp and unforgiving, the darkness broken only by the faint glow of embers in the pot, and the distant shimmer of stars struggling to pierce the clouds. Despite the hardship, their spirit remains unbroken. Around them, the vast emptiness of the sea is both a threat and a reminder of resilience. Each person carries a private burden: fear, longing, the ache of hunger and thirst, but these are lightened by the knowledge that they do not struggle alone. In the quiet moments between gusts of wind and the crash of waves, there is camaraderie forged by adversity. Laughter, though rare, is genuine. Encouragement, though quiet, is heartfelt. They speak of home, of families waiting on distant shores. Stories are shared, not to distract from the hardship, but to remind themselves of what awaits when the ordeal has passed. There is talk of gardens, of favorite meals, of the warmth of sunlight, and the comfort of familiar walls. These memories are fuel for the spirit, sustaining them when the body is weak. The night deepens, and with it, the chill. They huddle together for warmth, sharing what little they have. The storm may have stripped away their shelter and scattered their provisions, but it has not taken their determination. Each challenge met and overcome is a quiet victory, a small defiance against the vastness of the sea and the indifference of nature. In the darkness, they find strength in rituals. A song is sung softly, a prayer whispered into cupped hands. The rhythm of the waves becomes a lullaby, and the stars overhead, however faint, are a silent promise that the world is larger than the storm. that dawn will come again. As the first light of morning touches the horizon, the group stirs. The storm has passed, leaving only the memory of its power and the evidence of its wrath. The boat is battered, supplies are few, but they have survived another night. With the rising sun comes renewed hope. Fragile but persistent, they gather what remains, sharing a final embrace before turning to the tasks of the new day. There is work to be done, repairs to make, food to find, water to distill. Their journey is far from over, but in surviving the storm, they have proved that together they can endure whatever the sea may bring. In the end, it is not the hardship that defines them, but the unwavering spirit that carries them forward, wet, cold, and tired, but unbroken.